Welcome to the Vibrant Visibility Podcast. Being visible as a soul-led business owner isn't just about the practical strategies, marketing tips, and tech systems. It's also about the internal systems, the safety of your nervous system, the somatic connection, and the embodiment of being a badass CEO that will support you in all of the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. And I'm here to share all of that with you on this show. I'm your host, Shawnee Arsenault, a registered nurse turned visibility coach and business mentor for heart-centered coaches and healers. I created a six-figure coaching practice in my first year of business and scaled to multiple six figures my second year, all in the middle of getting pregnant with my first baby and becoming a new mama. If I can do this entrepreneurship thing, I know you can too. If you're ready to learn how to be a CEO in a way that feels aligned with your heart, become a lighthouse for the people that you're meant to serve, feel free to authentically express yourself and be a magnet for success, and grow your coaching business in a way that is sustainable and fulfilling, I can't wait to be in your ear along for the ride. All right, so I was inspired to record this episode because I had gotten off of a client session, and this is a concept that came up during the session, the concept of energetic endurance. And so I'll kind of share a little bit about what this term actually means. Like, you ever have those seasons where you are doing everything right? You're doing everything that you think you need to be doing. You're connecting with people. You're putting yourself out there. You're being visible. You are getting consistent calls booked. And then you're still wondering, like, why doesn't it feel like it's working? What am I doing wrong? Do I need to fix something? Do I need to add something? Do I need to be doing more? That's when energetic endurance comes in. Okay. And so energetic endurance is your ability to stay connected and grounded and consistent in your business or your life, even when the results aren't instant or flashy, right? So it's an exercise in being okay with delayed gratification. Again, I had this conversation with a client and it just like sparked a lot of light bulbs for me. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. It's going to be like, it's almost like a slow burn. Like if you ever read like a romance novel, it's like a slow burn romance, and there's like the light hand touching and the longing looks across rooms and things like that. That's kind of what this is, like that you don't really feel the payoff of it until way later in the story. And that's exactly what energetic endurance in your business is. It's allowing the slow burn and building consistency that doesn't lead to eventual resentment in your business. But yeah, I first want to talk about like whenever effort doesn't equal instant results. So being consistent in your business, like let's say you're being consistent with your connecting, you're being consistent with your posting, you're being consistent with the conversations that you're having and inviting people on calls. You have calls booked every week. Like let's say that is something that you've been really good at developing consistency with. And when you don't have quick results from that, it can definitely feel like you're failing. All right. You know that connecting with people and telling people about what you do and being visible, like those are the things that will fill your practice, but you don't always have control over when those results come to you, right? And it can feel like you're failing, but it's actually your nervous system and conditioning telling you, hey, let's back off. Like you don't want to continue down this path of rejection. You don't, like, it's protecting you, right? I can't tell you how many times I have shared something on social media and gotten very little engagement and like barely any views and not seeing any results from it. And then thinking to myself, like, maybe I should just like not post. Maybe I should just not share. Maybe I need to just like back off of the social media thing. It's not working, blah, 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 blah. And social media is something that I have stayed pretty consistent with. And it's a slow burn with sharing your content and being like, doing like kind of more the lighthouse marketing. It's a slow burn because people need to see you repetitively and consistently to finally feel safe with you, to finally feel like, oh, okay, I get what this person's about. And, you know, at the time, like early on in my business, I always made that mean something about me. I always made that mean that, oh, I need to change my strategy. Like my strategy needs tweaking, or it honestly sometimes affected my, you know, sense of self-worth. Like maybe I'm just not good enough for this. Maybe I like, who the fuck am I to sit here and coach people around business whenever I've only been in business for X amount of years, right? Like I would start to spiral. But that's one of the biggest reasons why I think having support in my corner is really helpful, because I can go to my coach, my mentor, with all of these beliefs, all of these like things that I'm making it mean about me. And she can lovingly reflect back to me, that like you are doing the work, like you are actually doing what you need to do to create success, to sign clients, to fill your practice, to successfully launch this offer, da 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 da. Like you just might not see results right now, and you're going to have to be okay with that. If you can't be okay with that, like entrepreneurship isn't the thing. And that was kind of a hard truth to swallow because you can only put up with so much rejection over and over and over again, or so much perceived rejection, right? Because we don't really know if people are rejecting us unless they flat out tell us no. But you can only put up with so much crickets whenever you put yourself out there and you like step into the spotlight and are hoping for that like validation back and you don't get it. You can only do that so many times before you start to convince yourself like this just isn't for me. So I've had to really detach myself from the external results, right? I've had to detach myself and really focus on, okay, how can I just be here and take up the space and like be myself, share my message, even if it doesn't get a lot of engagement? How can I just be that consistently so that whenever I do come across people that are ready to work with me, that are ready to do the kind of work that I'm really passionate about doing, it's really easy for them to find me. And it's really easy for them to say yes to me because they already know me, right? So anytime I would spiral into thinking like, okay, what should I be doing instead? What can I change? What can I launch? What can I blah, blah, like, what am I doing wrong? It's not that you're doing anything wrong, right? If you are focusing on heart to heart connection with people, on inviting them to calls, on inviting them into your offers directly, on like sharing your heart in your content and being really genuine and authentic, you're not doing anything wrong. You're not. Just because you're not seeing results, it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. You just need to give it a little bit of time. And like, yes, maybe there is strategy that we can tweak, but like give yourself enough time to be able to gather the data first, right? Like you're not just gonna share about your offer once or twice on social media, and if nobody responds or if nobody is biting, change your offer. Like that's not how it works. Like you need to gather actual data first before you switch up the strategy, right? I always like to equate this to like losing weight, right? Whenever you are trying to build a health routine where you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to, build some kind of healthy habit, the growth is usually slow, right? You don't usually see, or like working out in the gym, like you don't usually see that muscle definition. You don't really see that weight loss right away instantaneously. It happens over time. You start to see a slow growth. There's so much happening under the surface. Physiologically, there's so much happening in your body under the surface whenever you start to get healthy and implement consistent movement and nutrition and things like that. Like there's so much underneath that you're not seeing outwardly. And it takes a little while for the external manifestation of your body to catch up to all of that work that you're doing. Business is the same exact way. There's a lot of work you have to do up front, and you might not see all of the things that are happening underneath the surface. And so, how can you have energetic endurance to trust that those things are happening and the external result is coming without getting frustrated? It's like we develop this like fixer reflex within ourselves, or like this internalized urgency, and we default to that fix it mode whenever things feel slow, especially if we've been praised in the past for like being productive or getting things done or being capable or self-sufficient, right? Whenever things are slow, our brain immediately goes to, I need to fix this. I don't trust this. I come from a nursing background, and burnout was like a state of normalcy for me. And so whenever I wasn't stressed, whenever things felt easy, I immediately was like, what's going on here? I don't trust this. This doesn't feel real, And so you end up sabotaging yourself, right? Like in the nursing world, that career path for me before I became a business owner really just like reinforced that pattern of fixing, of rushing, of needing immediate effectiveness, needing to solve the problem right then and there. And then it like how that manifests in my body, like the sensations that I feel in my body whenever something in my business isn't working fast enough or isn't producing the results that I want immediately. I can start to feel this like pressure, this like crushing pressure in my chest, and it feels scary. It feels unstable. It feels unsafe, right? Like there have been several times where I have launched something and it didn't go well, or I didn't hit my goals, and I just wanted to burn it all down. And there have been several times in my business where I have totally wanted to quit. But I think sometimes your energetic endurance is tested the most when things are kind of working, just not at the pace that you expected. Okay, so let me bring you some like tangible examples of like what energetic endurance actually looks like in your business. It does not look like doing more. That's for sure. Okay. What energetic endurance is, it's building a pace that you can sustain over the long term, that feels good for you to sustain over a long period of time if you anticipate your business being like your main gig. There's two ways for this consistency to show up. Like there's two versions of consistency. The first is panic driven consistency. So like 100 invites in a weekend, which is totally unsustainable and is definitely overwhelming. Or you can go this like calm, nourishing rhythm, right? 5 invites a day, 3 invites a day, while living your actual life and not being glued to your phone for hours on end, right? So, like I said, it's not about doing more. I have done the 50, 100 invites in one day, and it was exhausting, and it made me never want to do it again. Of course, because it takes a lot of energy if you're, especially if you're wanting to connect with people really genuinely and not feel gross or weird or salesy. Batch inviting or batch connecting with like 100 people in one day, it's just not sustainable. It's not. And so how nourishing, how freeing would it feel to do your 3 invites, your 5 invites for the day or connections, whatever, and be done for the rest of the day? And you don't have to do any more until tomorrow. And it's literally only 3 or 5. I've had my clients in the past commit to one invite per day. And that is way more doable than doing 102 weeks. And this threshold is going to be very different depending on you. Like every coach, every healer, every business owner, every person is different in this. One of the things that I talk about in my course, the Main Character Marketing Lab, is creating like a visibility and connection menu for yourself, depending on what energy level you're at, right? So like higher energy level, you might do more connections, more invites, more visibility, whatever. If you're lower energy, you might do really, really low key stuff, like just engaging in comments and friend requesting people and like things that don't require a lot of energy. But if you can spend a certain amount of time doing, like picking things from this menu every single day, you will have a solid, sustainable process for filling your practice in a way that doesn't make you feel overwhelmed, doesn't burn you out, doesn't make you resent your business eventually. Like, how can we create a bare minimum for you to be able to do? Because you also have things going on in your life outside of your business. You're also likely a mom, a wife, a partner, you're caring for a sick parent, like whatever you're doing, there's likely stuff outside of your life that you want to have space for. Like a bare minimum week for me, if I am having a lot of life go on, if maybe like my childcare fell through or something like that and had to cancel calls, like there's a bare minimum that I do where I friend request a few people, I engage in some comments, I of course support my clients that are paying me, and I maybe post a couple times in stories and like maybe once on my feed. That's bare minimum for me. And if I do that bare minimum for that week, I'm not sitting there beating myself up about not showing up, because I have shown up in the capacity that I'm able to, right? So that's another aspect of being able to do this, being able to develop that sense of energetic endurance, is not beating yourself up for being at the energy level that you're at, not beating yourself up for doing what you have capacity for, right? So if you can think about like energy-based batching, I have a lot of energy right now today, and I wasn't super planning on batch recording podcasts and content, but I had time this morning and I have a little bit of leeway with my nanny being here for some extra hours. So I'm leveraging that time and I'm leveraging the energy that I have. I'm highly caffeinated right now. And so I'm going to record a couple of podcasts and get that out of the way, because tomorrow I might be lower energy. All last week I didn't get any content creation done because I was on my period. I was feeling really groggy, and like just last week wasn't the week, but this week is. And so I have items on my like visibility and connection menu that I can start implementing and taking advantage of the current energetic state that I'm in, right? And you can do this in so many different ways too, like creating that bare minimum for you or creating that menu for yourself. It really helps with decision fatigue, right? That's like a hack for decision fatigue, to have a pre-made menu of things that you can choose from whenever you don't know what to do next in your business, especially whenever you have lower energy. Your default like go-to actions of things that you do non-negotiably to fill your practice, pre-made templates that you can send to people that you can use instead of having to, start from scratch every single time you message someone, right? I'm not saying copy and paste to every single person, but having an idea of the way that you naturally like to connect with people and the verbiage that you like to use that can really help with that decision fatigue and continue to exercise that muscle of energetic endurance, right? And so, like, that internal dialogue for you every single time you're showing up for your business in this way is, I'm not doing this to get a client or to fill my practice today. I am setting my future self, my business 3 months from now up for success whenever I'm doing this. And I'm making it sustainable, right? I'm feeding my business what it needs right now. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the trust muscle and why sometimes it can get a little sore. Energetic endurance is tied to deep trust in yourself, okay? It's deep trust in yourself, in your message, in your audience, and the universe's timing, right? For me, I had to have a lot of energetic endurance to trust that that newborn phase would eventually end and my kid would eventually sleep through the night. Like, whenever you're in the midst of that like newborn stage as a parent, as a new parent, you're like, this is never going to end. This is my life from now on. Right? And so there's so much energetic endurance that you have to have as a new mom, as a new parent, to trust that eventually your kid's going to grow out of this phase. It's not going to be like this forever. It's almost like trusting that your dog is eventually going to get potty trained and not pee or take a shit in the house. It is trusting that, you know, something in your marriage or something in your relationship is going to recalibrate after a hard conversation, right? So energetic, and you have to have energetic endurance for all of these things. And so let's say like you are a brand spanking new coach, like just out of certification, just started your business, and you are connecting with people and sharing content and being visible and talking about what you do, and like nobody is scheduling calls, you don't have any paying clients yet, trusting that the more that you do this, that will come. Like, that's the only way that that doesn't work out is if you stop, talking about what you're doing, is if you quit. If you are putting in the work and not seeing that external validation yet, it's not proof that you're failing. Your brain is going to come up with that. Your brain is going to tell you like, oh, this means that this is never going to work. Like, you're just not cut out for this. You're not meant to do this. You need to tell it bullshit. It's not proof that you're failing. It is proof that your capacity is expanding. Okay, your capacity for rejection, your capacity for silence, your capacity for lack of engagement, your capacity for judgment, your capacity for people misunderstanding you, your capacity for being annoying. If you listen to my last episode, it's expanding. And so you have to have energetic endurance to be able to handle all of that and not go crazy. And so the way that I like to teach visibility, the way that I like to teach connecting and growing in a sustainable way isn't a strict content plan. It's not, you know, you have to connect with this amount of people every single day. It's not like a specific script. It's a rhythm. Okay, a rhythm that works with your energy, that works with what's going on in your life, because we are human beings and we're not robots. So we essentially cannot work in that strict of a structure without feeling burnt out and exhausted and overstimulated, right? So you have like your core things that you do, your bare minimum. And then as your energy increases, as you have more capacity, you can add on extra things. And I have a whole entire exercise inside of Main Character Marketing Lab, my 6-week course, on doing this, on building that menu for yourself. And this rhythm for you is going to evolve over time, right? It's going to evolve as your business grows. It's going to evolve as you start to expand your offers, as you start to play with different income streams. And so you want to build a rhythm. Like, if you are not someone who loves showing up on social media, build a rhythm where you batch content one day, schedule it to go out, and don't even think about it. If you are someone who takes hours to respond to a message or a comment or something like that, start to create templates that you can go off of, that you can tweak, so that you're not sitting there creating every single response or every single message from scratch. Like, how can we leverage your time and energy here to make it easier for you to build energetic endurance? Right? So create a rhythm based on your capacity, not somebody else's schedule, right? And then also give yourself permission to recalibrate, rework your rhythm, your menu during different seasons of life, different seasons of, like, maybe you're grieving, maybe you just became a new mom, maybe you have a new season of motherhood that you're in, maybe you are, going through a relationship crisis. I don't know, like take into account what's happening in your life as well, instead of holding yourself to this standard that you see everybody else holding themselves to, or that you might perceive from other people that you see online, and give yourself space, give yourself permission to recalibrate and readjust based on the current capacity that you have. And also, like, there can be some grief around that. Like, whenever I became a mom, my time condensed so much. I immediately had way less time, exponentially less time than I did before I had a child. And there was like this sense of grief that I really had to work through because of that. Like, it's like the death of one version of myself. And I really had to come to terms with my new life. And so giving yourself a lot of grace for that too, if you're in a life transition at all, allowing yourself to feel that, allowing yourself to feel the grief of letting go one version of you into this radical acceptance of your new reality, And so energetic endurance is necessary to grow and scale your business in a sustainable way. Like, you just need to have that energetic endurance, and growth does take longer than expected most of the time, right? Just like healing takes longer than expected. If you've gone through anything traumatic in your life, if you've gone through a relationship fracture, if you've gone through a death in the family or someone close to you, right? Like, healing takes longer than expected. Getting to the other side of something dark takes longer than expected, right? If you have friendships or relationships or marriages that hit rough seasons but endured, it's because you have energetic endurance, right? You also have that trust that if you show up the way that feels in most alignment with you, the eventual outcome is going to be worth it. I remember the first time that I ever discovered mindfulness or meditation, right? It was like in the middle of COVID, and I started going to therapy, and I downloaded, I think it was the Headspace app. And the first like week or so of doing meditations, I was like, this is fucking stupid. Like, I don't feel a difference at all. Is this even helping? Like, what am I doing? I feel like I'm doing it wrong. And I continued to do it. I continued to do it consistently. And after a while, I started to feel the shift. I started to actually notice my thoughts instead of feeling like I was in them. I started to really feel the benefits of meditation, of mindfulness. If I had just quit after that first week, I never would have been able to feel open to other types of healing, to other types of tools that would help me in the really like tough mental health season that I was in at the time. So energetic endurance, okay? Results take root in the dark, right? Just like any plant that grows, any fruit that grows, just because you can't see them growing yet doesn't mean that they're not. And it's likely not a matter of you having to do more. It's like you need a rhythm that really honors where you're at, what your capacity is, your timing, your nervous system. And so if you are craving a little bit more of that work, if you're craving a visibility, connection, growth rhythm that is sustainable, is soulful, it's rooted in, your real life and what your body, what your nervous system, what your brain, your heart has capacity for right now, not somebody else's formula. The wait list for Vibrant Visibility, which starts in September, is open now. So this is kind of where we start to build that like energetic and creative like infrastructure for the next level of your business. So I would love to have you join us in that space. The link for the waitlist to Vibrant Visibility will be in the show notes for you. I hope this episode was helpful for you. If anything landed, I always love getting messages from you. I love getting emails from you. Feel free to send me any takeaways that you are walking away with after listening today. And I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your week. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If this was helpful for you, subscribe to the show to make sure you're always in the loop when a new episode is out. And I would love to invite you to join me in the free Visibility and Tech Support for Coaches community, where we hang out and chat about all things visibility, tech, systems, and heart-centered business building. I regularly share tips and tutorials and go live every now and then, and it's just nice to be in a community with other like-minded coaches and healers. So you can join this free space at alignwellco.com/community, and I can't wait to see you there.